Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
So, as you know, I work from home and I get to see everything that goes on in the neighborhood. And I hear from my normal next door neighbor the sound of a car running into their driveway too fast, ground effects, scraping. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like them. They got big high-rise trucks and Jeeps and stuff. So I crack open the windows, and it's my other neighbor's meth head kid.
Eesh.
Pulled into their driveway, and he's standing around, walking around, pacing around outside of his car,
As meth heads are wont
talking
to
to himself, looking up in the sky. So I text my normal neighbor and say, hey, did you realize that her kid's outside? And he responds, no. And so next thing I know, he's standing out front talking to him, and I hear the guy talking to him with an elevated voice. He's very agitated. And
this would have been a real get off my lawn moment for me.
he goes back inside. He calls the cops. The cops show up. They talk the guy off the ledge, and things eventually break down, and they let him leave after.
Was there beef?
No, here's what it is. So after this was all settled, I talked to my neighbor. I said, what was going on? He said, well, he was mad at me, and he said he had called the cops because my wife was putting snakes in his pockets and, and breaking into his mama's house at night and slapping her in the face.
I mean, you can't have that now.
No.
But this isn't a rehab podcast. It's Cinema Chop Shop. It's a movie podcast. And we're back after a 3-week hiatus to talk about Noirvember. I'm your host, Shawn. I got Joey Poole and Todd. Travis Cito is not here. He's not feeling well, so get well soon, Travis. But yeah, we're doing Noirvember, and we're talking about foreign language noir because we've kind of done it all already.
Yeah.
So that was...
We've done this for several years in a row and have hit two episodes each month, most of them, and have hit pretty much all the subgenres of...
I mean, you never run out of movies to do, but
I keep finding new to me noir movies that are like really good, really compelling, and it's like where do these buried treasures live? And thanks to the Criterion Channel, they keep digging up stuff that I've never seen before.
I've been going through the Blackout collection this week, and there's some good ones in there.
Oh yeah, so that we're back at it again. We're not going to belabor what noir is. Go look it up if you don't know already. Off the top, though, we do want to say rest in peace to a legend in film, Tetsuya Nakadai. I don't know how we're going to pronounce it.
That's good.
Asian actor, Japanese actor, worked with many great directors, including Akira Kurosawa. He was in Yojimbo. He was in a lot of samurai films. Very, very established actor, and rest in peace. So,
yep.
I've been on a samurai kick lately for many reasons.
I was going to say we should do a tribute episode at some point in the...
We could easily do one on him alone. His filmography is incredible. Speaking of samurais, our leadoff film is one from 1967. It's Les Samurai.
And if for those of y'all at home who don't know French, that translates loosely to The Samurai.
Thank you, Joey. Directed by Jean-Pierre Melville. It's got a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Who are the 8% wet blankets, I wonder?
I don't know what they were after. Starring Alain Dayon, Natalie Dayon, his wife, who plays his sometimes girlfriend in the film, the very beautiful Kathy Rogier, and Francois Perrier playing the detective sergeant. This is one that I really like. It is low-key. It is dour in terms of color. It's just very gray-ish. And as neo-noir goes, this one has been cited as inspiration, if not almost like a direct unofficial remake for movies like Ghost Dog.
Yep.
As well as
Forrest Whitaker. That's a good one of the few movies by Jim Jarmusch that I don't find annoying.
And then, of course, John Woo's The Killer. That is another one that seems very similar to this movie.
Also, David Fincher's recent Netflix movie, it might be just called Killer, or it might also be called The Killer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Michael Fassbender is a very fastidious...
Oh, that's right. The fastidious
called The Killer, right?
hitman who doesn't quite get it right.
Yeah, he thinks he's very fastidious and very process-oriented, but he bumbles a little bit more than he thinks and ends up. Yeah.
So this movie, it's one of those defining cool movies. It's all about mood and atmosphere, and it's of its time. You've got Jeff Costello. He is a professional contract killer who lives his life defined by his meticulous isolation, really.
Yep. His room is very Spartan.
Minimalist.
Yep. The only decoration is a bird cage with a bird.
Yes, which serves as a huge plot device in the movie, as well as a sound device.
Yep, and it serves him well when it comes time to...
it's like a security system.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows when the bird's upset, something's wrong.
Exactly.
Otherwise, he's just consistent, like a metronome almost. Yep. So he's contracted to... Oh, by the way, spoilers, anybody who hasn't seen the movie. Contracted to do a hit at a nightclub, and he walks in and does his job. I guess the only thing that goes wrong is that he bumps into the piano player in the hallway, and she gets a really good look at him.
Right.
But beyond that, there wasn't a lot of identification that could have possibly happened.
Yep.
However,
and that's part of his meticulous process, is that he makes sure he has a very good alibi.
Right, and he sets all that up ahead of time with his girlfriend, establishing when he was there.
Yep.
And after he's done with the hit, he shows up at an illegal poker game and establishes how long he's been there at the poker game, giving himself this little window of time to travel from the girlfriends to the poker game. So he's got a bulletproof alibi. Yet
would be mundane for him, except for that one little random happenstance that he couldn't plan for.
Correct. And the cops nab him, take him in for this long interrogation process where they bring in lookalikes and guys with trench coats and hats, and they bring everybody in from the nightclub that had something to do with seeing the killer, and each of them have their own different take on it. There is one guy, the bartender, and I didn't realize this the first time I saw the movie, but the bartender is in on it because you see him later on talking to the people that are behind the scenes on setting up the hit in the first place.
That trope, plot device where the bartender's in on it, would also be used famously in Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Yes.
which we immortalized in a watch party episode.
Wow, I'm surprised you retained that.
Yeah.
All I remember is the snake and the rocket launcher.
The toilet snake and the rocket launcher are definitely the highlights, but I do remember that.
Okay.
Also, there's a Crying Game-esque twist in that movie, too.
He gets out after this long interrogation. They let him leave because of so many conflicting identifications.
It seems like they basically know who he is and have long known about him and know that he probably did this, and they just can't figure out how to get him.
They can't do it. And what results then after that is this long drawn out police surveillance and following him, where there's a subway scene.
Yep.
That I remember the first time I saw it. I said the French Connection had to have taken inspiration from that.
Well, and we should note too that the unexpected witness, when she was called in by the cops, would not identify him.
Right, and you don't really know why that's the case. Yep. Does she just like him?
Yep. I think he just assumes that, well, she must work with or got paid off by my clients,
and that's never really revealed.
No.
Even though she does know the one of the higher ups that hired him,
right?
Lives with him, I guess, kind of. So the people who did hire him, he goes to meet his guy to get his money, and the guy shoots him, and he ends up nicking him in the arm. And so he's been double-crossed. Now he has the cops after him, and now he has the mob, or whatever you want to call them, trying to take care of him as well. And it's just this really neat, tense story.
Very quiet.
Very quiet.
Yeah.
And it's because he's so isolated. He's by himself. He doesn't really share much with anybody except for maybe his girlfriend. And even then, it's not a lot. And so you do have this very quiet movie with very little dialogue from the main character. And it's more about him and his process and trying to get to the end of the film. And
yeah, even with a girlfriend, it seems like a quid pro quo or something like that.
Yeah, he doesn't reveal much. He doesn't interact much. He's just the silent type.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could give away the end of the film, which is why is it called Les Samurai? Because he does not really act like a samurai other than he has a code.
Exactly.
And he has his honor. Yep. And it's revealed in the very final act of the film.
And the fastidious lifestyle.
Yes. But in the final act of the film, his target of his next hit after he reconciles with his handlers is the piano player.
Yep.
And he goes into the club and draws the gun on her, and the cops shoot him, and it's revealed that he didn't have his gun loaded, which is the honorific samurai code kind of thing, is that he did like her, he did respect her, and he wasn't going to follow through with the hit, and he knew he was probably going to get taken down anyway, so he goes out a hero.
Yep.
Ish. It's just a cool movie.
Yeah. It
is a cool movie, and I'm a little bit cooler on it than y'all are. This is a good movie. It's a good movie. It's cool in every sense of the word. I'm not gonna say that I'm in that 8% that Todd was worrying about was wondering about on Rotten Tomatoes earlier, but I do remember I've seen this movie twice now. I didn't watch it for this episode, but I watched it a couple of years ago, and I watched it twice around the same time, which is unusual for me. So I remember it pretty well, and I remember being wowed by like just the style and the grace of the movie, but like it do be getting a little bit boring in spots for me. It drags a little bit because it's inevitable because of the nature of it, I think, but not enough to like score it down for me.
How'd you like the key ring?
Remind me of the key ring.
When he was stealing cars, he had like a giant key ring that had like every make and model of car practically.
Yep. Well, to Joey's point, a movie that popped into my head that I would be surprised if it's not influenced by it is Drive, that came out.
Absolutely, Drive is influenced by this movie.
That character. So people who don't like that movie have similar reasons, because in order to learn about the protagonist, you have to do it. You don't learn much about him through dialogue or through what he says, and
because he's so guarded.
Yeah, and so you just you have to be willing to just learn what you can through innuendo, through actions, facial expressions, that sort of thing. So,
and another thing about Drive was that its sound design was very crucial to the film as well.
Yep.
And you mentioned kind of being boring. I think that as you said, the nature of his solitary life that he leads does lend itself to being kind of boring in that you don't have your traditional dialogue to carry you across, but sound plays a huge role in this movie.
Yep.
And it helps further the suspense and the thrill of what's happening. It's a cool movie in terms of defining that late 60s brand of cool.
Yeah.
And I think it does a good job of ratcheting up the tension, like when the two cops go in to plant the bug. They just get out before he gets there, but then as soon as he walks in, of course, as we alluded to earlier, they upset the bird and he sees some feathers, and that shouldn't be there. And so then he finds and disarms the bug, which, since he has a Spartan apartment, there's not many places they could have put
it.
And
then it gets broken into again by the handler guy that tried to shoot him in the first place.
Right.
Time to move.
Yep.
If you haven't seen the film, we mentioned it being kind of dull in terms of color. That's an understatement. This looks like a dilapidated apartment.
It's like washed out, like grays and
chipped
pastels,
paint,
and
save for the fact that he is very neat and tidy. It's just the apartment itself just looks like it's 100 years old, and just a strange choice, but a very intentional choice to kind of convey, again, this character's bizarre world that he lives in.
Right.
Les Samurai. I liked it.
Yeah. I'm a fan.
It's a good movie, yeah.
And Joey's coming around on it right now.
No, it's a good film. I do remember distinctly being a little bit doing some clock watching.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not action packed.
No,
exactly.
no.
But
It struck me when we were talking about its influence earlier, like all of those films that you mentioned, like Ghost Dog Samurai. What was the other one? The Killer. Drive, definitely. All of those, I think, are better movies than this.
well, I saw something.
More sustainably entertaining for me.
Well,
anyway.
they probably built on what worked and then decided they would change some stuff to make it a little bit, like you said, inject some life into it.
Yep.
But it has I respect that it has a vibe. It went for it and it established
definitely.
that vibe. And I just as a side note, it's 180 degrees when it comes to vibe and style to a movie I watched earlier this week. I rewatched His Girl Friday.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen this?
Yes.
Oh, great.
So
movie.
it's like wall to wall, dialogue, people talking and yelling and joking over one another, and just
this is on the other end of the
anxiety-inducing.
spectrum.
Yeah, so it's like 180 degrees.
Oh,
away
absolutely. Yeah, this is a very quiet,
Yeah.
meditative action movie.
Man, this is the movie you should come down. You should use. This is a good movie, a come down movie.
Yeah.
Like if you watch it to come down from His Girl Friday or like Uncut Jewels,
Gems.
I'm sorry, yeah, Uncut Gems or something like that.
Yeah, we've got a frenetic pace and a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah.
Beau is Afraid. this
This
would be
is-
the
I haven't seen
antithesis.
that, but
exactly.
This would be the antithesis of Beau is Afraid. This is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a very grounded movie.
Deep breath of a movie. Yeah.
It has its place on your shelf when it comes to films, and there is a time and a place to watch it.
Yeah.
But I do like it. I think also Alain Dion is a very handsome man. Those piercing blue
sure,
eyes
yeah.
really work well with that color palette for the film.
And it can't be very easy to pull off that level of stoicism. You
Right?
know what I mean? As
Yeah.
you'd think it would be easy because you don't have to do a whole lot, but like,
I would think, but people criticized Ryan Gosling and Drive similarly, or people who didn't like the movie. I guess they didn't have to do much. But I actually think if you don't have a lot to say and you're on screen the whole time, I would think that's actually probably harder
to do.
to have some presence.
controlled,
and-
like yeah.
Everything has to be done with a purpose. You're not just
Yep.
sitting there
right.
or just standing there.
Yeah.
You are plotting out what you're doing in a scene, and if it's not a lot, then you've got to control that movement and what you're emoting.
Yep.
True. I think that it does deserve some credit for that.
So DeLon, not just a pretty boy, showed some chops there.
All right, that's Les Samurai. That's our first hit of the evening. Oh, Travis did send me fun facts, so we're going to read a fun fact for this.
He's here
one.
in spirit.
He is. According to Rui Nogueira, author of the book Melville on Melville, published in 1976, the caged bird shown as Jeff Costello's pet in the film was the only casualty of the fire that destroyed Jean-Pierre Melville's studio in 1967.
Oh,
So the bird did not make it.
well, that sucks.
Sad. And then the other note was about Ghost Dog and The Killer, which we just mentioned. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Not before we say, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some black licorice.
There you go.
Great minds think alike.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
And we're back, and it's one of those beer check-in kind of episodes. Since it's film noir, we decided to go with a Bourbon County from 2022. It's a stout. Sir Isaac's Stout, yes. It means it's just one of their treatments. It's pretty good. It's 13.9%, so I should be pretty silly by the end of this episode.
It tastes like port or something almost. You know, like,
It's probably aged in a port barrel.
It doesn't have an overpowering aftertaste like some barrel-aged numbers, or at least for my palate.
All right, so we're going to jump into our picks, individual picks for this episode. Joey, you're up first with yours.
So I chose a movie that I've been wanting to rewatch for a while because I watched it. I think it was for one of our silly movie challenges in 2022 or 2023, some category. And you ever watch a movie where more so than the movie itself, you remember the setting that you were in when you watched the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I remember this movie fairly well, but like I remembered this crystal clear as day. It was one of those like weeks where we have to be at work. It was like right after Christmas. All of my classes were made. I checked all of my email. And yeah, I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to watch a movie because I have nothing else to do. And I watched this movie at work and it blew me away. I loved it. It's Shoot the Piano Player, Francois Truffaut from 1960. Usually filed as a French New Wave film, which it very much is, but the French New Wave, as I'm sure everybody knows, was heavily influenced by American noir movies. And this very much is an homage to American B-movie noir. I love this movie. I think that it is an homage to those kind of films that I love, but it kind of transcends it as well. And on my second rewatch 2 days ago, it just, again, blew me away. And this is now one of my probably Letterboxd top 4, kind of territory. But this movie opens with a small-time hood named Chico, played by Albert Remy, running from somebody who's pursuing him in a car. And he kind of runs into a dive bar where he tries to get his estranged brother. It's a character named Charles Colley. Hold on to that name for a moment. He's getting ready to play the piano. Chico kind of begs him for help. Initially, Charlie tells him to fuck off, but when the shit goes down and the goons find him, he does help his brother to escape by throwing down a couple of crates of wine in front of them, I guess. And then he's walking home with Clarice, who is his love interest, also the love interest of his Neanderthal boss, Pleen. And Pleen sees this. He looks out the window, and there's a scene where he almost looks like the Wolfman from the Universal movies, kind of looking out the window, and he gets really jealous. So he ends up selling them out to the goons who are after Charlie's brother, and we follow them home to his apartment. Basically, one thing leads to another, and they give the cops the slip. And one of the funniest scenes in a noir movie that you'll ever see, when they're Charlie and Clarice are kidnapped by the two goons, and they're driving through the city, and he ends up getting pulled over by a cop, and they kind of pull it like, just to they use that Charlie and Clarice use that to escape.
He's drunk, officer.
Yeah. And they have to go through this pantomime of like, okay, never mind, we'll just walk. Okay, we'll see you when you get there, kind of thing. And it's hilarious to me. One thing leads to another. Pleen gets jealous. They go to. I'm sorry, I said that, but they go to back to confront the boss, Pleen, at the bar where Charlie works. And one thing leads to another. During this whole time, Charlie. Another thing that's kind of like homage to and transcends noir. Charlie is always, while everybody else is doing things, Charlie is in his head, and things are going on in the background. His would-be new girlfriend is in a fight with their boss, and he's in his head thinking to himself like, what should I do here? Is this the kind of thing that I want to do? And finally he does act. Pleen tries to slap Clarice, and they get in a fight. Charlie ends up, here's where the spoilers start, killing the boss, and they flee out to the country to his city. Time out in the whole movie, because what the movie does then is it just does 180 degrees, and we have an extended, like, the whole middle third of the movie is an extended flashback where we learn that Charlie is not Charlie. His name is Edward Soroyan, and he's a formerly famous classical pianist who had very humble beginnings, grew up on a farm out in the country with a couple of numbnuts brothers, but escaped that life to leave this life. He was rich and famous, like all over the continent kind of deal. But at the very height of his fame, his relationship with his girlfriend, soon-to-be wife, starts deteriorating, and it turns out that she slept with his manager, who is a very influential music promoter, in order to get him where he is. And I won't get into the entire story here, but there are tragic results to that. So he has basically fled that former life, changed his name, has fallen to the very bottom of the music world, playing in these dive bars. And he's also adopted his younger brother, Fido, who has a dog's name. Poor kid.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Again, after that whole long extended flashback, we get back into the present, and long story short, the two goons have kidnapped Fido. One of them, during this whole car ride, cops to loving to wear panties. Another unexpected comic noir thing going on here. All of this leads to a climax at Charlie's ancestral family home with his brothers. I won't get into what happens here, but I will say this is a movie that knows how to balance hilarity, because it's funny. For a film noir, it's hilarious. I laughed out loud watching this movie the other night more than I've ever laughed watching any other film noir. But it's also devastating. And it's a really effective character sketch of this character of Charlie as well. So I have nothing but good things to say about this movie. Todd's going to tell you why he doesn't like it.
Well, one note that you didn't mention is that the film is based off of a novel called Down There by David Goodis. And I've read a couple of his books. He's kind of a forgotten, unfairly, crime/noir writer from the 40s and 50s. And I read the novel, and then, knowing that that was the inspiration for this film, watched the movie. Down There is a more straightforward noir. And when I watched Shoot the Piano Player, I was not really into the surreal flourishes or the attempts at humor, which I didn't find funny. However, I will note that might have been because of the presence of the novel in my mind at the time. I mean, I literally watched it right after I read the novel.
Well, that's never a good idea.
And so I didn't have time to revisit it before the episode, but I do want to revisit it and give it another shot because I might like it better.
Todd used the word surreal. I almost would say slapstick, because there's one, and there's a couple of these, and Shawn, I think you had mentioned another one. But for instance, there's a cutaway where one of the goons is talking to Fido as they're driving, and he's got this scarf, and he says, "Oh, this is not even cloth. This is fancy Japanese metal.
Yeah,
that's like spun so finely that it's like a cloth." And the kid says,
"Bullshit.
No, it's not." Yeah. And he says, no, seriously, if I'm lying, then my mother just keel over right now.
And they
cuts away to like this slapstick.
It was almost like a Monty Python
looking,
cutaway. Yeah. It's very funny.
Of a woman just falling out. And I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, that's
well, in
funny,
this
man.
case, I know sometimes I'm a wet blanket on some of Joey's views, but in this case, I acknowledge that I might need to revisit it just because of the stark differences between the source material, which I really liked, and the film. So
another thing I like about this is that scene I said earlier, that like any French film from this period and any film noir, the sexual politics are what they are.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But there's the scene, I think I misplaced it earlier. It's not actually when they're with Fido. It's when the two goons are kidnapping Charlie and Clarice.
Yeah.
And they start talking about looking at women on the street and leering at women on the streets. Yeah. And you're like, oh god, this is cringe. But then one of the goons says, in French, obviously I'm translating from the subtitles, but he says like, and no wonder they want it. They want it all the time. But it's no wonder, because one time I tried on my sister's panties. Felt so good, so sheer against my skin. Like, no wonder they just want it all the time. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of like, I don't know,
off the wall.
It's off the wall, and you might say that that's kind of a progressive tone. Right?
The thing that I
A
enjoyed,
noir tough guy.
the thing that I enjoyed about this movie is this message about blood being thicker than water. You had Charlie with his aspirations of becoming something well outside his family's DNA.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you, Charlie?
And he fell back into his place. So I thought that theme was really well conveyed, and especially when everything's on the table, it's all about it's most important his family. You know, it's just that freaking Fast and the Furious bullshit. But yeah, he had to fall back in line with his brothers because everything was on the line. I enjoyed it too. I thought it was a good movie.
I love this movie. Yeah. If I'm ever in a situation where Letterboxd puts a camera in my face or a mic in my face and asks me for my top 4, this is definitely gonna be one that I say.
This one is on the Criterion Channel. That's how I watched it.
Fun facts.
Oh, fun facts.
Fun facts. Because no funding was available from any of the studios, Francois Truffaut and his crew shot the film on the fly on the streets of Paris, often making up the script as they went along. The ending was decided on the basis of who was available at the time of shooting. Also, the opening chase scene is so dark because the rain kept blowing the bulbs of the lights out. Cinematographer.
It works though because you can barely see who it is working. Yeah, but it works toward the plot of the movie, I think.
Due to the budgetary restrictions and the fact that he was making a film noir, Francois Truffaut simply decided to continue shooting with minimal lighting, resulting in moments of almost total visual obscurity at points throughout the scene. So, yeah,
It's DIY, man.
work with what you got, man. Hell yeah. All right, Todd, you're up with a film that we talked about over a year ago during our Halloween episode. But I'm glad that you picked it because while I discussed it from a horror perspective, I think that it just as easily can be discussed from a neo-noir perspective. So take it away.
So this film is a 1997 Japanese film called Cure. And if you look at the description on Wikipedia, it says a neo-noir psychological horror. And it really...
Noir is such a huge umbrella that,
Certainly.
you know, there's a lot of gray areas.
Yep. So the film was directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, no relation to Akira. And an interesting note about him is that he became big during a movement in Japanese cinema called V-cinema, which was direct-to-video films. And he made a ton of these in the late 80s and early 90s. And in Japan, those films were not, looked at as being, just films that weren't good enough to be put in a theater like they were. If you remember the direct-to-video stuff in the U.S., that was kind of the impression that people had of those. Cure was released in theaters, was starring Koji Hashimoto, who was also in films like 13 Assassins, if you've seen that. Perfect Days, which is a recent one that's a good Japanese film. You would probably recognize him if you've watched much Japanese cinema. And then the other notable actor who plays kind of the killer in this, Masato Hagawara, not real prolific as an actor, but he is a professional mahjong player.
That tracks. That
Which
really
is
tracks
interesting.
with the character.
Yeah. Although he gives a great performance. Cure begins with we meet the detective. He is kind of been pushed out of his job because we see an incident happen where there is a perpetrator who is in a psychological hospital being interviewed, and he kind of steps away, takes his eye off of him. The guy escapes and then ends up murdering someone, and then the killer ends up getting shot, and he gets injured himself. But from there, he's kind of out of a job as a cop and goes on to become a professor because this kind of fucks with his mind a bit. He also has a wife who has some mental issues, and so that plays a factor in the film. As all of this is happening, we then get introduced to our killer, or is he a killer? There's this awesome scene on a beach. We only see two people on this beach. There's one gentleman who's just sitting there reading, and then there's this beautiful, ominous shot of this character in the distance who is just kind of standing there looking around. He sees the guy sitting there with his book, and he walks over to him, and now we're off. And this character, and we don't know his name, we don't know who he is, he apparently has some sort of very short-term memory loss to the point where when someone says something to them, he doesn't remember it 2 minutes later. Or that's what it seems like. He keeps asking people, one of his favorite questions to ask people, and what he asked this gentleman on the beach is, who are you? And even after he tells it to them, he keeps repeating it to them, and this gets under people's skin. He says he can't remember who he is, so this guy on the beach takes him back to his home, wanting to help him. We don't see all the details that happen with this, other than that this unnamed character just keeps asking him questions, keeps flipping on and flipping off light switches, just doing kind of weird things. And later on, we get a shot of the next morning, and there's blood in the bed of this guy who took the unnamed gentleman home. And then we get a long shot of his house on the beach, and then he goes flying out of the window, not having been thrown out, but having jumped out, because he has discovered that he has murdered his wife. This sets off a chain of similar crimes where these seemingly normal people are just murdering people, oftentimes people who they're close with. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. When the people get interviewed, in a lot of cases, they just act very matter of fact about it. We see one of these killings happen with a couple of security guards. They encounter our unnamed person. He throws the same routine at them about asking them questions, forgetting what they've said 2 minutes later. Later on, it might have been the next day, something like that, the two security guards seem to be doing some sort of routine check. They're talking to each other normally. There's no conflict or anything. And then suddenly, one of the security guards turns his back to the other to do something. And then the other one just matter-of-factly takes his gun out of his holster, points it at his head, shoots him, and then matter-of-factly goes about his business as if nothing had happened. And it's a very unsettling, creepy scene to see this. And so a number of these things are happening, and the cops are trying to figure out what's going on. So now a professor, one of his former colleagues, kind of drags Yakusho's character back into, he doesn't become a cop again, but he enlists his help in trying to figure out what's going on here. They finally tie it in to the unnamed narrator, and so they bring him in to interrogate him. He does the same routine with them. Yakusho is getting pissed off about this. And the interesting thing, though, is that the effect that this guy has on other people, where after encountering him, they're changed in some way. He can't do that with Yakusho. Eventually, one of Yakusho's colleagues ends up getting drawn into this guy's, after having a conversation with him, gets drawn into the unnamed narrator's web, I guess you'd say, and kind of loses his mind and ends up killing himself. And that was the guy who was the psychologist, which tells you a lot, because, the fact that this psychologist was not, was affected in that way. Eventually, through his investigations, he finds out who this guy is. He's a former doctoral student who, in psychology, who randomly left his program, talks to one of the professors who worked with him, said that he was a brilliant guy, and he was interested in a movement from the turn of the 20th century called mesmerism. They find where this guy was staying, and it's this kind of Spartan place, other than there are tons of books all over the place, and a lot of these books deal with this subject of mesmerism. They find a video that's also from the turn of the century that kind of gives them some clues, where they see the father of this movement, I guess, using these techniques on someone who, we don't see it in the video, but we find out from the literature, ended up killing someone. So now we have kind of a potential, not really a motive, but like we know how he's doing this to people. It's like a hypnotist thing. He uses a lighter. I should have mentioned that before, but there's this lighter that he uses to kind of hypnotize people. It seems like they end up kind of having this little bit of a rivalry. the unnamed narrator, or the narrator now, I can't remember what, we find out what his name was, but he actually has some respect for the fact that he cannot get Yokoshu. He can't crack him, and he tells him as much. He tells him, you're like me. You're the other people aren't like us. And so we see a scene where Yokoshu goes home, and his mentally ill wife, he sees a vision of her having hung herself, gets upset about it, but then we find out that she had not done that, and it's only something that he's seeing. So it did affect him to some degree, but not to the effect where he would actually act out on it. At the end of the movie, we go to this abandoned, is it a warehouse type place? This abandoned, or an abandoned building, let's say.
Yeah, it's not. It's very sparse.
Yeah, very sparse. Another, sparse. Another character who likes sparseness.
Yeah.
Being the killer here, or the person. He's like a Charles Manson type, I guess, but in a sense. But in any case, he finds out where this guy's staying in this abandoned place. They have an encounter at the end, and he ends up killing the guy. But the guy doesn't seem to mind it, because he seems to have kind of spread. The goal of this guy, clearly, we find out, is to just sort of spread this idea of mesmerism around. Now, the thing, though, that's creepy about this is we never get an explanation of why he wants to do this. We never have a motive. And to me, that might bother some people. I found it much more unsettling to not know why he wants to do this, other than that just he became, maybe he became enthralled with it after watching that video, like the people who he enthralls. But then the closing scene is, to me, one of the best closing scenes of a movie like this, where Yakusho is eating in a diner and thinking that he's kind of solved this problem, and then we see a woman go over to another woman in line at the buffet, whisper something to her. She immediately, just matter-of-factly, walks over to the cutlery, pulls out a knife, and starts walking towards Yakusho, and then the movie's over.
Yeah.
So we know it's not over at all.
Well, I was going to say, my question is, your description of the movie makes it sound very much, I like this movie, but your description of it makes it sound very much like a horror.
Okay, so let me
Where
give
did you get
some
off
noir.
bringing this to the noir episode?
Okay, so let me give you some noir elements. Now, this is considered a neo-noir for those, or in part, and so it kind of plays around with some of those elements. But one thing, the femme fatale in this case, his wife is not a femme fatale in the classical sense, but she is in the sense that she's very enigmatic to him because of her illness. And that scene where, he's very concerned about her, and this plays a factor into, in addition to, witnessing the person being killed because he kind of took his eye off the ball, it also has something to do with the state of his wife. And so she's kind of this enigmatic figure, similar to a femme fatale that we see in movies. We also see the palette of the movie has a grayness to it, like what Shawn mentioned, even though there's some beautiful shots. But the beach scene I mentioned earlier, for example, the sky's kind of gray in the background. It's not raining or anything. It's not black, but it's kind of just gray. There's no clouds anywhere. There's very suffuse colors. We have these very Spartan settings, like the house at the end that I mentioned. We also have the detective, or not every noir is a detective, but the protagonist who finds this white whale that he's got to go after, usually because of some trauma that happened to him in the past. The trauma being what we see in the opening scene, and this instance where he's got this impeccable career, but he dropped the ball one time and somebody got killed. And now he's got this other enigmatic figure in front of him who's kind of similar to the guy who tricked him before. And this time he's not going to let his eye off the ball. And he's not going to let that bone, even though he's not working with the police anymore, this becomes his obsession, which is a common refrain in noir films. So, I would say that those elements fit into the genre.
Here's
Highly
your fun
recommended.
fact. The movie was originally going to be called Dendushi, meaning evangelist.
Oh, that would
However, at the same time as the movie was being shot, the 1995 Tokyo subway sarin terrorist attack perpetrated by Shinrikyo happened. And there were concerns about suggesting a religious cult connection to the crimes in the story. A producer at Daiei Film suggested Cure instead, and the title was changed. My movie is called Death of a Cyclist from 1955, directed by Juan Antonio Bardem, starring Lucia Bose, Bruna Cora, Alberto Closas, Carlos Casaravilla, and Otello Toso. It's a sharp piece of mid-century Spanish noir. It's not just a hit-and-run thriller. It's a social autopsy of a corrupt elite.
As is almost every Spanish movie from the mid-century period.
Right. And I'm going to get into that and how it pertains to today. The setup's real simple. You meet Maria Jose, a gorgeous high society woman. She's married to a powerful man, and her lover Juan, a university professor. Oh, those university professors.
Yes.
They're driving home from a secret rendezvous, and they hit a cyclist, a bicyclist. Instead of doing the right thing, they panic. They check the body. They realize he's still alive but seriously hurt, and they drive away. Why? Because stopping means admitting to their affair and admitting the crime, and that shatters their privileged, comfortable lives. You're starting to see some threads here with modern day type shit. The rest of the film is just pure agonizing tension. It's not about if they get caught by the police. It's about how their secret starts to rot them from the inside. You add that, you've got a smarmy, lurking blackmailer, a bon vivant, if you will, that's kind of like it's almost like a gossip columnist. Really, he has no talent, he has nothing to offer, but he exists in this social elite world as kind of their he's just there. He's just a gadfly, he's just whatever. And he starts circling them like a vulture because he claims that he knows what's going on. And he starts approaching both of them individually, saying, I know what's up. And they're like, oh shit, does he know about the murder? And it starts to become like a pressure cooker that's ready to blow.
Yeah.
We've seen this moral dilemma before, but Bardem cranks up the dial by making the true villain not the accident, but the social class and their perpetrators.
Right.
The movie isn't just a thriller. It's an indictment of the wealthy elite in post-war Francoist Spain. As you mentioned, it is what it is.
I always wondered, because it seems like every movie that comes out of like the Franco period in Spain is like it's a searing indictment of the upper classes, and I wonder they seem so on the nose that I wonder what were the movies like that they were censoring.
Right.
Because how could you be a little, more on the nose than this? I guess they're not overtly political because it's not about like Franco and his cronies and whatever, but there's clearly an agenda with the...
Well, it's kind of like the films that Kim Jong-il, when he kidnapped those two filmmakers from South Korea and forced them to make movies,
Right.
And they had some very heavy-handed, it seemed, commentary about the regime, but they did it just veiled enough to where I guess they let it through, and that's kind of the case here.
I guess fascists don't watch movies and think about stories in the way that we do.
Yeah, they're not artists.
They don't see them as metaphors for themselves.
Yep. So yeah, they truly believe that they're above their consequences just because of their social station. Their anxiety isn't about the man they killed, it's about losing their status, their money, their power, their comfort. Bardem uses the camera like a scalpel, though, focusing on their cold entitlement versus the desperation of the working class. So you've got a lot of cool things going on above, beneath the surface of what you're just looking at. But it's got that beautiful, stark black and white that you'd expect, from film noir. Then you've got Lucia Bose as Maria Jose. God, that's poetic. She's really pretty. She's beautiful. You've got her playing this bored socialite and then transforming into this terrified killer with the pressure on, that's really neat. It's kind of got like a Hitchcock vibe to it too, because of this impending doom that's pervading everything. They know that the noose is tightening, but also it's kind of like a Billy Wilder kind of thing going on too. But it's cool. I liked it a lot. The ending, I think, Todd, you mentioned in your Letterboxd review.
Predictable.
It's a little predictable, but it's film noir, so you kind of expect the bad guys to get their just desserts.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly what happens here. History kind of repeats itself at the end of the movie through a staged execution, I guess, and then she fucks up.
Yep.
I liked it. I thought it was really cool. It's a neat little movie as it pertains to today. You know, these people will do anything they can just to hold on to their little piece of the pie.
Yep.
This is one that I have long had this movie on my to watch radar, but I've always been sort of. I haven't really been in the mood for it because I went through a phase where I watched a lot of those like mid-century Spanish movies, and like all of them do that kind of thing. Like Peppermint Frapp does this, and like all the Buñuel movies. Not just the weird one where Jesus is sitting on the. Y'all have seen this movie where Christ is sitting up on the platform above the town. Not just that one. There's one Buñuel movie that's almost like a Twilight Zone where these people are like trapped in a house.
I love that movie. I love. Yeah, that's
and
a great
they're
movie.
all just like excoriate like this, sort of like upper middle class sort of bourgeois attitudes. Yeah, so I've been kind of like maybe it's time to come back to that and watch this one. Finally.
Yeah, this is a fun one.
And the title's a great ironic title because unlike a movie like Death of the Salesman, it's called Death of a Cyclist, and it is not about the cyclist at all, and he's completely ignored.
Is such the jumping off point.
Yep,
is all it is.
Is it a MacGuffin?
No, it's not, because
it's not something that they're trying to attain.
No, it's something that just happens to kind of set the wheels in motion, but it's really more about these awful upper crust elites and what they'll do to hold on to their status, and that's just has such relevance to what's going on right now.
Yep.
It's just perennial. It's been like that since the
I know, but it has play right now with today's headlines. So it's well worth watching for that reason alone. Let me grab Travis's fun fact about this one.
While you're doing that, as an aside, SEC football fans may have found the plot of this familiar from years ago when former Arkansas coach and all-around douchebag Bobby Petrino got into a motorcycle accident with his girlfriend.
His co-ed girlfriend.
Yes,
on the
and
back.
they didn't hurt anybody else, but they tried to pretend like it didn't happen, even though Petrino was all jacked up and led to his firing.
Well, I was describing
this.
this movie to my wife Allie, and she said, "Oh, it's like the Coldplay couple."
It is. Yes.
They got caught on camera, and they just kind of do that weird duck thing. It's like, oh. So, all right, fun fact. Lucia Bozze was an Italian actress who did not speak fluent Spanish. For this film, all of her dialogue was dubbed by another actor. The red-nosed clown at the circus is wearing a makeup style made famous by Emmett Kelly's clown, Weary Willie. Okay. Yeah, there's a scene where they go to a kid's circus to talk, where they won't be monitored because you just have nothing but screaming kids all around them, which is really a strange choice. Yeah. I mean, to stage that scene and set up a circus, or actually go to a real circus and shoot.
Better than a Coldplay concert, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yes.
Anything's better than a Coldplay concert, in my opinion. That covers us on Foreign Film Noir for this edition. We're going to try to get some of us together. I don't think Todd's going to be available. We might try to squeeze in one more noir episode before the month's out. So stay tuned for that. If not, we'll be back in December with some fun ones and our White Elephant gift episode.
I'm looking forward to this one because I do not like suspense.
Yeah, I'm holding you in suspense. We're going to do a White Elephant minisode to determine our genre picks for a subsequent episode. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate the diligence and research and watching the movies. Thank you very much. Sorry Travis couldn't be here to join the festivities, but hopefully he'll be back next time. Please rate, review, subscribe. Check us out on social media. We're Cinema Chop Shop everywhere except for YouTube and Blue Sky. We're Cinema Chop Shop Podcast. And remember to be nice to folks. Love your neighbor. Tell your family and friends that you love them. You don't know who needs it, and it might help them out. And in the meantime, please remember to watch, shop, retrofit.